Hello, welcome to the Alone Show. I'm your host, John Alone. In this episode, I'm not sure if that regular's going to come, but if they do, I'll let you know, and yeah, yada yada yada. But as for our guest, she's from Waynesville, North Carolina, and she is a shame guilt educator, counselor, filmmaker, and author, bringing new info to everyone in every country. Impressive. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Lois Hollis.
Thank you, thank you. And yes, I just spoke with India yesterday, so it's been very exciting to know that everybody carries shame, guilt, energy. I call it energy, and we'll get into that later. So you're not alone if you feel guilty. That means you're human. That doesn't mean you have to feel it, but it's okay.
Yes. So, how's life in general?
Well, life in general is pretty good. The the craziness around the world today is I look at it as a reset. We're going from dark to light, and things that are not of truth and wisdom and joy and love are just dropping off.
Hmm, okay. Is there anything you've been up to much recently?
Um, Getting on more podcasts and my new film, I'm Good. The third episode, it's only 15 minutes, is going to be out in 2 weeks. And what I've done in the film is made shame, guilt, energy visible so we can see what it is and how it affects us and how we don't need it.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
Okay, the culture way of looking at shame and guilt is that it's an emotion that brings us down to nothing. When you're in guilt, you're in the lowest vibration that a human can exist. And that's really not a good place.
Hmm.
Shame, guilt is a negative energy as opposed to love being a positive energy. Now, this is different. People are going to do a 360 turn. Love energy gives us joy, compassion, confidence, intuition. We're sensitive, we're empathic. However, shame, guilt, energy gives us all the negative emotions like depression, anxiety, bullying, procrastination. I'm not good enough. There's about 100 of them, so I won't bore you. But with that in mind, you now see that shame, guilt, energy turns your positive emotions to a negative one. It's like your compassion goes to depression, your intuition goes to anxiety, and your passion goes to anger. So you don't have to work at each individual emotion. You just have to get rid of the cause. Now, that's totally different than what's out there because nobody put a focus on shame guilt. We've been left in the dark. Mm,
Okay.
Interesting, isn't it?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Now, you remember the Wizard of Oz?
Oh yes, I do.
As Dorothy's going down the yellow brick road to see the all powerful Oz, well, she shakes and very frightened. And then
Mhm.
good old Toto, he opens the curtain. And what does she see? She sees a very short man, bald and gray. Not that that's bad, but he's not young and happy. He's bald and gray, and he's turning a big machine, which is a puff of smoke. The jig is up. And that's what Lois
Okay.
energy. It's
Oh yes.
the jig is up. Shame guilt only has one defect. It dissolves in detection.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
I
Yeah.
know. So there's
I
hope. There's hope.
yeah, absolutely. So tell me more about your work as a counselor.
Well, I help people. First of all, first step is shame guilt energy doesn't belong to us. So when you're in guilt, you just like, okay, you put that on the side. Is it going to go away? Probably not, but at least you're not entertaining it. Like you don't say, oh, it's such a shame today. It's raining and I can't have my outdoor party. No, it's not a shame. It's sad. So we need to change our vocabulary. Okay, that's step number one. And then step number two is that shame, guilt doesn't belong to us, but it affects our emotions. So we say, well, what else do you feel? I feel depression. I feel sadness. Then I help people write to their hi, depression. How are you? Hi, sadness. Please talk to me. That's the inner parts of ourself. So I help people to find the voices within them rather than deal with why am I guilty? Why am I shameful? Hey, it goes along with the territory, but it's not normal. And a lot of people, therapists including, said shame and guilt is normal behavior. It is not normal. It's abnormal. It doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to humanity. It's like a parasite. It's just as bad as the virus, okay? Vaccine, virus, whatever all that stuff is, okay?
Hmm.
That's what it is. That's where we need to put it away and give it no
Okay.
energy. So I help people to find that within themselves because when they were 4 years old, they were shamed by their mother or their father or their teachers or their kids or their children in school, and everybody gets shamed. And then we hold that energy inside of us, and it affects our life when you're 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and 60. It doesn't go away until you find it to take it away. And that's what I do. I help people to find it within themselves, and then it gets gone and it doesn't return. Then I call myself an educator because I have to teach people what is shame guilt behavior. We think it's normal because we don't know any better. That's what culture did. So I help people to learn how to do that by um, I have a book called 500 Questions, One Answer, and it's 500 ways that you and I, accept shame guilt energy from others, or we shame guilt ourselves. And that's what I teach, not to take on that energy. And I help people to make friends with their inner critic. The inner critic is your friend. It's just that he was taught by the culture and not by you.
Wow.
That, that's what I do. And
Okay.
and what happens? People get younger and smarter and more successful.
Wow.
Not
Okay.
not
Nice.
bad,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty impressive. And what do you like about doing that?
Because I was dying at 55 because of all the abusive childhood episodes I have. And you carry it along with you unless you find it and kick it out. Okay. The bad boys came in and you just got to kick them out. So I was able to understand the mechanism of shame guilt and was able to release it. And I healed from many, many traumas and many, many depressions. I was suicidal. I was anxious. I was depressed. I was irritable. I had them all. And then I was able to turn them all positive because I got rid of the shame guilt that was causing them. And then people noticed that I looked younger and happier and smarter and standing straight. And they said, "Can I do that, Lois?" And I said, "I guess so." "And what are you doing?" "I'm talking to myself." So I help them to do what I do and what I teach other people to do. It's called self healing. And they too got younger and smarter and successful. So they sent me their mothers and fathers and kids, and that's how I became a shame guilt educator.
Okay.
That's it.
Great.
It found me, and nobody is sharing this. So I appreciate so much being on your show to let people know that we are not supposed to feel shame and guilt. Just
That's
throw it
right.
away and focus on the other emotions. And that's what I help. One thing
Okay.
you learned today is that shame guilt does not belong to us. It doesn't belong to us, and it doesn't allow us to give it to other people, like you stupid jerk, you kind of thing, throwing it on somebody else. But it is tangible, and that's why I'm Good Film is out there to help people to see what shame guilt energy looks like. Because seeing is believing. That's why
Yeah.
I did film. So there you have it in a nutshell.
Great. Fabulous. So throughout throughout your whole life, what have been the high and low point?
The high and low point of my life.
Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. Um, I think the high point was when I start writing from the Akashic records, or that energy of the spirit. I have many writings, and I think the happiest is when I gave birth to my first child, because I lost three pregnancies before that. So I think that was my happiest moment. And my lowest moment is when I felt suicidal because I felt not good enough to live. Like the world would be better off without me. That's a low point.
Ah.
Wow.
Okay.
I know. So getting rid of shame, guilt got me from suicide to happy.
Okay. So, hmm, hold
I
on.
know it's a very pensive topic we're talking about.
Yeah.
Your mind's going like, oh my goodness, that's so different. I don't know how. Geez, gee whiz. Well, I tell you what, go to my website, loishollis.com, and I have many podcasts on there, and watch my film, imgoodfilm.com, and it'll make sense to you because you have to see it because it's so, our culture's not telling us this. Nobody's telling us this. So you're like, I can't visualize it. And so that's why I made a film to help people see what I see.
Okay. I'll certainly look at that.
It'll change your life.
Oh
That's all
yes.
in a good way
Oh yes, absolutely.
because people are very depressed now. People are very suicidal. There's a
Yeah.
lot of bad stuff happening. And if people are feeling guilty, there's no, there's nothing after guilt. That's the end. So I suggest people to be feeling another emotion, feel regret. Like regret leads you to a solution. Guilt leads you to nothing. And I guess you can understand that.
Yeah.
When you're in guilt, there's no solution. But if you have regret, you can do
Mhm.
a solution. Now, I had a client that I worked with that was extremely guilty because she could not help her mother heal from chronic alcoholism. And you can understand that. It's, you can't turn somebody around that doesn't want to. And
Mhm.
after her mother passed, she had severe guilt. And then I helped her to see a regret situation, that she regrets that she couldn't help her mother. So what she did was developed programs and in talk seminars to help other people get rid of the alcoholic personality. And so she's been very successful. But you see how the regret moved her out of the guilt so she could do something about it.
Ah. Okay.
Okay. So that's what I
Yeah.
want to leave with your audience. If you're guilty, you can't get out, say, okay, I regret that I put money in the stock market and I lost my inheritance or whatever. But
Yeah.
what, I regret it, but what can I do now? But guilt makes you so incompetent that you're stuck because you're guilty. Guilty means you're no good, you're stupid. Guilty means you're stupid. So if you're stupid, you can't do anything. But at least in regret, you're smart enough to do something.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Yeah.
that's what I like to make a big point of because that's where suicide comes in. People are so guilty, it shame guilt energy confuses our mind. So we live in guilt and we live in fear. Fear is also shame guilt. Everything is shame guilt. I can't believe that nobody ever took it as a science all to its own when it affects every emotion. And that's a big deal. That's huge. But nobody ever took it out to say that. So
Yeah.
that's my mission. That's what I do.
Okay. Great. So, is there any other films you're planning on making?
I like to make a couple more. I have, it takes time and effort, but I would like to make some more films. I don't know which ones yet, but I have Out of Discord into Harmony, and that's me talking to the inner parts of myself, making friends with my inner critic and my depression and anxiety. And my inner critic is called King, of course, right? And
Mhm.
King changed his job from shaming me to looking around the world for podcasts. That's a good job change, isn't it?
Oh yes.
I like that one. So I would like to do, and it's kind of like the Inside Outside movie that was around the insides of us. So Out of Discord into Harmony is a 20-minute film I created. So uh, I'm thinking, I'm thinking.
Cool.
So shame guilt is not ours to own or to give. And that's a big statement. But we have to know what shame guilt is. That's where we fall because we've never been educated to what this energy is because they didn't want us to. Because that's how people manipulate you. They shame you into it. Never make a decision out of confusion or shame and guilt. I got to do this because I'll feel guilty. Well, that's not something you should do because guilt is pushing you to make that decision. And any decision made in out of guilt or shame is going to hurt you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's a big mouth to swallow.
Oh yes, absolutely. Uh,
So
so
go ahead. How does that fit with your audience? How would that these different sentences resonate with your audience?
to be honest, I haven't actually thought about that. But if I'm being honest, maybe this is a good way to tell people about. I had it for a second there, but oh man, I think I think it's important to know what shame guilt is
Yes,
and how you can deal with it. That's what I'm thinking. What's important to discuss
yes.
and address.
First thing, shame guilt energy doesn't belong to us. What happens to your computer when you get a computer virus? Ugh, bleh, bleh, we don't want
Shame.
to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
You need a virus removal program, okay? And that's what I
Mhm.
do. Shame guilt's an energy. It acts like a virus because it changes. We're a computer, right? We're an energy being. We have meridians and energy focuses within us. Our whole body is energy. And so when this bad negative energy comes into us by someone telling us we're bad, or we tell ourselves that we're no good, either way, we activate that energy and our mind goes into confusion, our positive emotions go to negative, and our physical body doesn't do well because it's not doing the right electrical system. So we crash like the computer crashes, okay? And we
Yeah.
need a virus removal program just as we need a shame guilt removal program because it doesn't belong to us. And that's the key thing to know. You get nothing out of this that shame guilt doesn't belong to us, but is put upon humanity to make us stupid. Okay, we're victims when we're in
Mhm.
shame. How do you feel when you feel guilty? Do you feel empowered? No, you feel terrible.
Yeah.
So God did not make us that way. God made us as beautiful, loving beings. So we have to take off that energy so the emotions of love and happiness and joy and satisfaction and confidence can rise up. We don't have to learn how to be confident. We don't know learn have to learn how to feel good. We don't have to learn how to feel empathy. We just need to get rid of the force that's covering it. How cool is that?
Well, that's pretty neat to be honest.
It's pretty neat. It is that simple. Okay, you can't just say shame, guilt, go away, but you can do that for yourself. I'm teaching you how to help yourself. That's what I do because
Yeah.
everybody is very smart. We're very happy. We're very beautiful beings. But the shame, guilt, energy computer virus came into us and distorted our mind to tell us we're no good, distorted our thinking, and distorted everything. And shame, guilt is the same. Shame, guilt affects the unconscious nervous system, and guilt affects the conscious nervous system. But it's the same thing, and that's what drives people crazy. Shame, guilt. It's the same energy. Now, from a medical viewpoint, if you have a virus in your brain, they call it meningitis. Okay.
Mhm.
If you got the same virus in your kidneys, they call it nephritis. If you got the same virus in your liver, they call it hepatitis. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. I do
But
see where
it's
you're
the
going with it.
same virus. So the shame guilt virus is the same for depression, the same virus for anxiety. It's all the same thing, only they give it different names. It does also does well for billing of insurance, but it's all related to shame guilt. I mean, isn't that a incredible hope for people?
Yeah. I think it is incredible hope for people.
Because you, you, they say, well, how do you feel? Well, I'm depressed and sad and lonely. And they go, oh my goodness, how many years is that going to take? You just got to get rid of the gasoline that's fueling the fire. And gasoline fuels the fire. And
Yeah.
gasoline is the shame, guilt, energy thrown upon you, and everything acts like it crashed, like your computer crashed.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, got
Yeah.
to think about that one.
Of course. I I mean, no matter how bad things happen, you just gotta dust it off and just move on, you know?
Exactly. But you have to know your enemy. How do you defeat somebody that's your enemy? You have to learn about what they are. How do they affect you? What is their MO? Okay? That's why I call myself a teacher, because you have to know what shame guilt is to avoid it. Okay?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay? Like you got a bully at school and you don't know who the bully is. How can you avoid the bully? But if you identify the bully, say, "Oh, that's John with the brown hair. That's 4'5". I know, and he always wears a black shirt. Okay, I avoid him." You have to identify the problem to stay away from the problem. Okay,
Mhm.
and culture has not taught us what that is. They kept us in the dark, so we can be manipulated, and we do. Oh, buy this product, buy that, do this, do that, and we're like, you know, oh, okay, okay. No, we're not victims. We're very smart human beings, and God made us that way. We're spirit.
Exactly.
However, there's nothing defective in us. There's nothing defective in us. We only get defective when shame, guilt, energy comes to us. Wow, that's the truth. Take that home with you.
Yes. Absolutely. Just get
Yeah,
the.
it pauses a reflection
Mhm.
because your
Yeah.
whole mind's going, well, nobody ever told me that before. People say, oh, I don't believe you. I said, well, entertain me and try it out. And they go, oh my goodness, it works. I said, yes.
Yeah.
Truth is simple. Truth is simple. When things become very complex, you go, I don't know if that makes sense. But basic truth is simple. Th-
Yeah.
That's that's what I'm saying today is I can tell you where the brain operates, what lobes are important, and each lobe has this property and that property, and you have the cerebellum and the cortex and the brainstem. But does that help you heal? No, that's not going to help you. It makes you more confused. So I bypass that and tell you the truth that shame guilt is an energy put upon us by other people talking to us or giving us things, and we're taught to shame guilt ourselves, aka the inner critic, and we fall into guilt. So we can talk to our inner. You're living in 1950. I'm living in 2022. Can we just get together? Because when you were a kid, you were shamed, and that little kid's still inside of you. So that's what I do. I help people bring themselves back together to themselves.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
exactly. And
Absolutely.
it is possible because I've been doing it for 15 years now. And people people just blossom because they know the truth. It's amazing how the truth sets you free. I think that's a term, the truth will set you free.
Mhm.
Well, this truth will set you free. That's my statement.
And it's a good one at that.
Yeah. So how does that affect you, this knowledge?
You know what? I actually feel great now. I've let go of my struggles and focus on what's in the present.
Yeah, the present is good, but you still have to heal the past. You
Of
can't
course.
you can't ignore that it didn't happen. That's called denial. And denial is shame guilt. So, yes, you can say it doesn't belong to you and that's good, but you still have to do the work releasing the shame guilt that you kept on to because no one helped you to get rid of it. We've all been shamed as a kid, okay? We've
Mhm.
all been shamed as a teenager. And everyone carries it, even though they don't think they do. And that's where I come in. We all do, only you have a better process of positive thinking and denial. But everybody needs to get rid of the shame guilt they are carrying because that will only affect them later and later and later.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's where I am, and that's where I take people, and it works. And I would
Yeah.
suggest seeing my films because there's nothing like a visual. When you see something in a film, it makes a difference on you, and
Yeah.
it's more understandable. And I have great animations on it. and
Uh-huh.
it's free. That's a good thing. Free is always good.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. So, listening audiences, shame guilt is not yours to own or to give. You are perfect as you are, but you're still carrying the shame. But that's called step number one. Step number two and three is finding the shame that you took on unconsciously, or your mother, your father, your grandmother, your teacher, your uncle. And then we can get rid of it once you find it. And then you get stronger and stronger as you get older. You don't get weaker as you get older. You get weaker because the shame guilt has accumulated all these years. But if you can get rid of the shame guilt energy, then it doesn't follow you and you don't age and get sick. Shame guilt is what makes us crippled. It makes us predisposed to disease. Shame guilt makes us make stupid decisions. It's shame guilt energy. So we can't blame mother or father or grandmother or someone made me do it. They too are carrying the shame guilt energy.
Yeah, honestly, I've been just just standing here, just listening to what you're saying, and it's yeah, it's I've been so mesmerized by what you said. Like I can't even concentrate straight, but it's a good way, because I've I've taken in everything you said, and I feel so much better now. To be honest, it's been great.
Okay, so it's like someone's been lying to you all your life, and then someone says, you know what? That's a bunch of bull. That doesn't mean anything. And your brain goes, reset, reset. And then you think about it and you go, oh my goodness, that's right. Truth
Yeah,
is phenomenal. And your brain, see, I'm talking to you, but the the spirit of you is saying, "Oh my goodness, that is the truth. It makes sense. Why did not anybody else ever tell me that?" And you're in a kind of like shock. And then
yeah,
you go, "Oh my goodness, I feel better. Someone told me I'm good. That bad thing energy made me." See, we're taught to say shame guilt is part of us. And I'm saying, no, 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 no. Shame guilt is a computer virus. And you don't go around with a computer virus, right? No, no, no. It messes you up.
yeah,
So just think of shame guilt when you feel, you go, that's a computer virus. Get the heck out of here. I can be depressed, I can be sad, but I'm not going to be guilty because that's a virus. And let me know how you do in a couple of months because you're going, I'm happy.
yeah. Well, anyway, that's all we have for this episode. It was great having you, Lewis, talking about what you do as a shame guilt educator, counselor, um, the films you've made, and especially this conversation we just had. I've never been so indulged in my life.
You
It's
never
quite
see
something.
what? What film is that? The I'm Good film?
Your work as a filmmaker.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. I had to
Yeah.
make shame guilt visible to show people that it exists. I mean, how else you going to believe me?
Well, that's a good point.
Okay, well, enjoy the I'm Good film song and
All right.
the I'm Good film. Okay, blessings.
Okay. All right. And until next time, stay tuned for more.